Every day we're more exhausted. We haven't slept in years. They hit me in the nuts so bad, my eyes fill up with tears. And yes, we like to fake our death, but go off of the grid. But the truth is we are softies, don't we truly love our kids? Join us every Thursday night to laugh at all our pain. An evening in the Parents' Lounge is the cure for staying sane.
Welcome to another edition of the Parents' Lounge, Parental Mental Health Thursday night. Jamie Kaler, joined as always by my partners in crime, Jason Gowan and Jeffy Lou.
Hello.
My partner in crime.
And of course, we got Ray Davies from the Kinks to sing our opening song, which was fantastic.
Oh man, he's free these days.
He is.
My AI rendered like 7 versions of it today, and I was
So
like, no.
good. I want to be there. Like early Spinal Tap with like muffles and the thing with it.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I love it.
That's funny.
We have such a great show for you tonight. This gentleman coming on, I've known him as a stand-up comic for a long time. He is fantastic, super funny. He has some great stories. I just went and did his podcast, the Bad Good Parent podcast, which we will promote a bunch tonight because it is fantastic. And I went and to his studio and we recorded and told some insane stories. And I said, well, listen, man, I talked basically for the entire hour on your podcast. So if you could do me the honor of coming on my podcast and telling some stories, I would greatly appreciate it. The one, the only, the wonderful Charles Greaves is here today.
Yay.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Thanks for having me. And Jamie, that was
All right, brother.
That was a very generous intro. I love how he said he came to my studio, which was like my kitchen table. That's what happens when you have kids.
An in-home studio. Listen, that's a write-off, brother. That's an in-home studio.
Yeah, that kitchen's a write-off, man.
Yeah. You can follow Charles on Instagram at I am Charles Greaves. Dude, I had such a good time doing your podcast. It's funny too because we talk like we know each other through the stand-up world, but like you, I have kids, so we're not grinding anymore like we used to. Where I was up.
I mean, I try, but it's very. They make it hard.
It's hard.
So I did shows 2 nights in a row and got up at 6 a.m. and made omelets for my kids. And today I was like, I need a nap. Like to do the night and the morning, it's a grind. And so I don't see you as often as I once did. And it was really nice to sit down and tell crazy ass stories about our kids.
Parenting stories are always the best. That's kind of why. I mean, actually, I made that podcast so because we tell, we make fun of parenting fails on the podcast. So I had that podcast so people feel good about themselves. Because parents always feel down, like, oh, I'm a shitty parent. And I'm like, no, listen to these stories. We're all shitty. Like, you're fine.
That's usually, we open with that. It's like, hey, you want to feel good about your life? Listen to our insanity. Because it's so funny. I mean, that's how this all started too, because when I first was going through this, I mean, I had kids at 50 and all of a sudden I'm like, am I doing this wrong? Because I feel like I'm getting punched in the face on a daily basis. And then everyone's like, no, that's how it's supposed to go.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
Bro.
It does feel like sometimes like, oh, everybody else has got it down and I'm just the worst. It does feel a lot.
I don't.
Well, tell us about your family.
I'm doing anymore. I have zero clue. Raising twins is not working. I don't.
Yeah.
I apologize on behalf of humanity. No one should have twins, bro. No. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what she was thinking. She went to Costco. She got the buy one get one free pregnancy, and now here we are.
And you're hoping the whole time, like, absorb the other one. Absorb the other one.
I wonder if you could sue her and say, listen, I didn't I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for any. It was an oops.
What's crazy is when we first were conceiving, my wife wanted 5 kids. I wanted 1. I'm like, look, let's meet somewhere in the middle. And we had first decided on 2. I'm like, can we get it out of the way right now? Like, and man, thank God that didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, praise whoever. Thank you. I'm like, man, I dodged a bullet because now we got 2. I mean, they're far apart, but fuck, man.
How old are your kids?
How old are they?
My daughter's 11 and my son is 3.
Oh my God.
So you're on the train straight into Teenville with your daughter then.
Oh man, bro, she was a teen since she was 6. Forget it.
No, you said let's get this over with quick, but you took an 8-year gap in between, man.
We took an 8-year gap. Listen. My wife makes the money. So what she says goes. If she's like, look, I want to have another kid, I'm like, I guess we got to have another kid. But I told her, I'm like, let's wait until you're sure. Because after we had 1, she's like, I'm surprisingly content. I don't want another kid. Like, I'm good. And after like 5 years, she was like, I was like, let's hold off and let's see, like, make sure that you're 100%. And then she was like, yeah, I'm 100%. Then when we had the kid, and it was crazy because we had him during COVID. Like, she's, there had an emergency C-section, and she's like, I signed that paperwork. Sew me the fuck up. She's like, I don't want it anymore. Sew me up. And I'm like, sweetheart, they're doing, because she's behind the curtain, so she can't see what's going on down there. I'm like, all your guts are on the table. You're like, they took everything out. They're
oh my God.
Like, you're done. Like, you're not gonna have any more. And she's like, thank God. And I'm like, I'm looking at the table. I'm like, yo, how am I talking to her with her guts on the table?
You're lucky they didn't put the kid back in and they gave you like a kidney or something.
So you went in for childbirth and got a Saw movie.
Oh
my God. Man.
And the poor gentleman that, because like I said, it was during COVID, so it was a really hectic day. Apparently they had about 9 or 10 pregnancies coming before us. So they were smashed. And the doctor was furious because she's like, I'm the on-call doctor. The next doctor doesn't get here until late at night. So I'm kind of doing this on my own. And so she was in a bad mood and everyone's like running around like crazy. And like the head nurse for the children's department or whatever took my son out after they, cut him out to make sure that he was breathing and everything. And he takes my son out. He forgets to cut the umbilical cord. So he's like run with the kid. And like, I'm like, bro, like, because the doctor was like yelling at him, like, do this. And he's like struggling. And he's, I think he had like, he has a handicap, like one leg shorter than the other. So he's like hobbling. And I'm like, bro, like, y'all need to stop yelling at this man. He's holding my child. So he forgets to cut the umbilical cord. They take my son over to, and I put my hand on his shoulder. I'm like, hey man, it's okay. He's safe now. Calm down. Like, take a deep breath. And they're like, you got to cut the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord is stretched out. He cuts it. Blood sprays everywhere because he forgot to put the clamp on.
Oh no,
bro! And I'm a sneakerhead, so I'm looking at my shoes. I'm like, bro, if you got blood on my shoes, I was willing to forgive you earlier, but that would have been a big no. But no blood got on my shoes.
Was your wife getting tugged off the table? She's like getting pulled off the table.
Yeah, they're connected.
She was just like back this, like, laid out and looking over, like, is he okay? I'm like, he's good, like, calm down. And that's when she starts yelling. She's like, please, like, before you stitch me up, I signed the paperwork. Like, no more kids. Crazy, bro.
By the way, tonight I just want to let everyone know we're raising funds for the horrible disability where one leg is longer than the other. I mean, a lot of people don't understand how awful that can be.
Dog, I felt so bad for that gentleman. And
I mean, if it's really pronounced, you could walk in circles for the rest of your life and you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
And this guy, like, he was hobbling, like moving. He was trying his best to move as quick as he can. And the doctor's like yelling at him, like, yo, let's go. I'm like, where do you want him to go? He is rotating. What do you want from this man's life? It was crazy.
I didn't have it. Did you guys do C-sections, Jason?
No,
Yeah.
the twins were all both natural.
Yeah, we were all.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a half
vasectomy.
hour in between them. Because when Logan came out, Anthony panicked and swam back up in, so they had to like catch him and then like force him to come out, and he's been a problem ever since.
He's been running for the hills ever since. That's
Yeah,
really.
he saw what was up. He was like, man, look.
I get it to some degree. For 9 months, he has this roommate, and then that motherfucker's just gone.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Gone.
No rent.
Well, you know what's funny, dude, Giles, is that my kids are 18 months apart. So they're literally right now they're probably having a boxing match downstairs, just literally killing each other with a knife. But an 8-year gap, it must be a unique experience in a way where, like, my sister was like 9 years older than me, and we were close, but she was more like another mother to me. She kind of helped raise me, I would say, more so than my two siblings who are like rock'em sock'em stealing their shit. Is it a weird thing with 8-year? I mean, 8-year gap's pretty big.
Yeah, my daughter, she acts as though she's the parent. You know, she like tries to raise my son. And I'm like, you know what, sweetheart? Get it out of the way now. So that when you're a teenager, you're like, man, fuck that. I already raised a kid. I don't want another one. And I'm like, good. And not until you get married, like later on. I mean, I joke about that, but yeah, I swear she thinks that she's the parent. And I always have to yell at her. I'm like, hey, stop. Don't tell him what vitamin to take. Who the fuck are you?
What? How the fuck do you know?
Like you don't.
Like, you call your dad. She's like, Charles, I have this. Don't worry about it. Hey, dude.
Talks to buy.
Oh man, we'll go on walks with the dog, and I'm like, man, stop being so obnoxious. You're being obnoxious. And I'm like, oh, I understand why my parents beat the shit out of me. I'm like, I'm being nice. I don't spank y'all. But don't test me. Like, don't test me, bro. Like, kids are crazy.
We talked about that a lot. I actually jokingly now I go, is it time? Is it time for the hand? The hand of shame? It's a running joke. And then I'll literally tackle them, hold them, and just like spank their butt. But I mean,
we did spank at first. Like we did that.
I spanked
early on, but we figured out, this isn't the right way to go.
No, man. I can't.
See, we don't spank ours. My sister, when she's a little younger than me, but her kids, she would spank them with a wooden spoon, and it became such a thing that they nicknamed the spoon Sammy Sorass, and
Wow.
they drew a sad face on it, and like the kids to this day are terrified of Sammy Sorass.
Jason, let me tell you something. My mom, Black woman from the Caribbean, so you can only imagine. We had a spoon with our names written on it.
Oh my God.
Like, oh, Charles, Faith, Corey, Chris. I got my ass whooped with that spoon. And one time she broke it over my back, and she thought like I was being sassy. So she's like, all right, I'm gonna go get another spoon. I'm like, was that not good? Like, you broke it over me. Like, I don't need.
Yeah, like that should be enough.
By the way, that's the storyline for the next Toy Story. Sammy Sorass is the lead character in the next.
Sammy Sorass. That's a fantastic name, by the way.
By the way, Sammy Sorass. My mother used yardsticks. She knitted a lot, and so she always had a yardstick. And it had, I don't know if you know a good yardstick. It's got a good waver to it. Like, whack! Like snap. She'd snap
There's
it.
a good snap on it, dog.
And if it broke, which it did, basically every time, she'd get madder. Like it was my fault. She's like, you broke my stick. I go, I didn't. No, you broke your stick. And then if she was vacuuming, that's when I knew to leave her alone. Because if she was vacuuming, she had the metal tube vacuum hose and she'd smack me. But to be fair, I had it coming. I really had some.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I had some issues. I needed to be smacked.
My dad had a Western wear store he owned. So he had these big buckles he wore on his belt. And sometimes it found that buckle hit me.
He did? He pulled the belt up with
Not
like a rodeo champ buckle?
Giant.
Shut up.
It said Big Mo from Big Tex, and it was a giant belt. And sometimes he pull it off to spank me. And
did the imprint go into your cheeks? Yeah.
Sometimes it was not pleasant, guys.
That's
did break.
Brutal, that's brutal.
Charles,
I would get a regular belt. There was no like crazy buckle. My grandmother, my dad's dad, used to make me go out to her lilac bush and pick the witch she was going to tan my hide with. Which
Pryor has a great bit about. He goes, she sends you out to. Oh, I'm gonna. It's cutting the air as he's walking back. Richard, it's like one of Richard Pryor's greatest bits about that. Gets the.
See, this is where black people and white people we can come together. We share such a common thing in America. We got our asses whipped with switches from trees, with spoons, with belt buckles. This is trauma that we could bond around. We can bond.
You know what's funny? Bond. My father never once hit me, ever.
You know, my dad hit me a couple times, but not like my mom was on another level.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I was upstairs and there was a huge fight. I must have been, I don't know, my daughter's age, probably like 11 or 12 maybe. And when you sneak down the stairs and your parents are downstairs and they're having a conversation and you're listening at the bottom of the stairs. And I could hear my mother was like, "You have got to discipline him. He needs to be disciplined. He will not listen to a word I say. He needs to be disciplined." And my father's like, he's like got a Schlitz. He's at the table smoking a cigarette. Just the dude, I'm the youngest of 6. Like he had raised 6 kids and he was like 43 when I was born. He was over it. He had an Alistair MacLean book. Like he did not want to be dealing with this little shit. Like he sold cars for a living for like probably 12, 14-hour days. Like this dude, looking back now, I wish I could go back and tell him how sorry I am. But I remember like he listened to my mother for a long time. My mother kept saying, you have to discipline him. I think you're going to have to hit him. And at some point she stopped and my father goes, "Peg, I'm afraid if I hit him, I'll kill him." And I crept back up the stairs. Like I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ." That poor dude. Oh, Herb. My dad's name was Herb too. Oh, good Lord, that poor dude. But yeah, it's weird because nowadays, I mean, you can't. My kids they run over me. The only thing I have is even tonight, I was like, they're downstairs. I made them dinner, and I said, "Listen, if I come back down and these dishes aren't like cleaned and in the sink, no iPads." That's literally the only threat I have.
That's you do get that grace period from, well, you're about to grow out of it, Kaylor, but from like Thanksgiving to Christmas, you do get the Santa leverage, but then once Christmas is over, you're screwed. You have to go back to the iPad.
Here's my question. We had a therapist for a little while who said, try the carrot first, positive reinforcement rewards. And we always tried it, and we always went to the stick. We always went to the punishment. It's so much easier. I don't know if you guys.
All my kids get is carrots every day, all day, every day. Yeah. Every day get carrots.
Here's the thing. It works. The problem is it takes a lot of patience from our end. It ends up working, but it takes some time to get there. Yes. But once you get there, they start to self-police, which is that's the goal. The goal is to because as parents, you want to make sure that your kids are okay when they're gone. So you try. What's going on? Oh man, we got a lot of messages. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Cole Cooper's popping in. No, he's really funny. He's one of our killers.
Yeah, he's a regular.
All the guys who come in and comment, they make me laugh. It's so funny every week. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I have to do the show. And then by the end of the show, I laugh so hard because they just start cracking jokes that it makes me feel pretty great about it. Yeah. Hey, happy day before Valentine's Day, Cole.
We love it.
Anyway, Charles, keep going. But you know what's funny, Charles? You're actually offering solid advice, which is very rare for this show. So it's
it works. It just takes some time, and you got to be patient. But once you get to the point when they start to self-police, when they're correcting themselves, it's amazing because you're like my daughter, for instance, she'll come home and she'll forget her homework, and I don't even have to be like, hey, where's your homework or whatever. She's like, oh shit. We got to go back to school. I forgot my homework. And she gets upset because she's like, I don't want to mess up what I have going. So she self-polices, and that's the goal. That's what you hope for. But so it takes time. You gotta be patient. It's hard. It's hard.
I wonder if girls are different too.
Think about it from the parents' perspective. Who has more patience? Who has learned to have more patience? We have more so than the kids. So we got to be patient with them.
You seem pretty chill. You seem like you have patience to spare, I feel.
I am you know what's crazy? When it comes to people, I'm patient. With my kids, my fuse is short. My wife is much better with them than I am. She like,
okay.
she has a lot of grace, but I'm like, I don't even know how to spell grace. Fuck that. Like come on. Like it's, but I have to reel it in. But she's much better at it than I am.
Well, it's funny too, because, I had that whole album about homeschooled where and I'm the same. My wife has a serious job. She travels a lot. And so I stopped doing the road. I mean, somebody has to stay home and watch the kids. So I did that. And you're doing the exact same thing on a daily basis of getting those two kids up and getting them through their day and stuff. How was that shift from, I mean, obviously, dude, we were traveling, doing stand-up, bouncing around, and all of a sudden it's like, this morning I had to make an omelet for this one. The other one didn't want an omelet, so I'm making a bagel. It's like I'm like a short order cook. How did that change for you?
It wasn't too bad because living in LA, you need two incomes. So I was already, I was working. When I wasn't at work, I was at the club. When I wasn't at the club, I was at work. So I was constantly doing different shit to like stay on top. But my wife, she does well enough where she's like, look, like you don't have to work as much. But then stand up, oddly enough, after my daughter took off way more.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I make enough where I don't have to wait tables or bartend anymore.
Right.
So, and then I started producing shows, as you know. So it just, it started, the transition was weird. Like before my daughter came, I'm struggling and I'm like, come on, like I need stage time. And then after she comes, when I need to be home is when everything started to roll. But fortunately, my wife was supportive. She's like, "No, like go ahead. Like this is what we're out here for. You're an actor. You're a comedian. Go be a comedian." So
there's definitely a different motivation when you have children at the house.
You want to get off the stage.
The motivation is just to survive it.
Yeah, you're ready to go home.
Speaking of which, can we take 1 second? Because Cole has said, and by the way, Cole, I know exactly how you feel. I feel the exact same way. He goes, I've been kind of depressed lately, so it's glad to see you all. I'm glad to see you too, because it really does take a village. And I think we did Zooms like this during the pandemic. And there was like 30, 40 guys in there.
How we got through it.
Guys were like suicidal, man. Guys were like, I'm not going to make it. And just, it is something about community and talking to other people and hearing other people's stories of, I guess it's to hear somebody else suffer. You go, oh, I guess I'm doing okay.
Misery loves company, man.
Exactly. That's so funny, dude.
Misery loves company. But there's also something about, the human connection that you don't realize that you need. And then when you're separated for so long, you're like craving something. You're like, I can't figure it out. And then when you start to talk to somebody, you're like, oh, this is kind of nice.
There was always a running, it was just a stereotype of like back in the day when, like during Mad Men, and the wife was at home and she was drinking Chardonnay at 3 p.m. and no one could understand it. What is wrong with her? And now, I'm a stay-at-home dad and I go, oh, I totally get it. I totally. Oh, yeah? Because you're sitting there reading like, You Need the Unicorn and Dragons Love Tacos, and your mind it's just turning to mush because you're taking care of these kids on a daily basis. And I do think it's given me a newfound respect for really what my mother did raising 6 kids. Like,
homie, I tell that joke I tell that joke about how, they always come up with these statistics back in the day, not so much anymore. But back in the day, they always told those statistics about how black men leave their kids at a high rate. It's much lower now, but back in the day, they used to say that. And I was like, once I had the second kid, I'm like, how is that number not higher? Like, what in the fuck? How do people handle this shit? And then I have friends who are like, oh, it's so easy. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, you must not be home.
Yeah.
There's no way. Because it's not easy.
Well,
we
have a lot of friends. Yeah, I have a lot of friends who are very successful comedians. And they've been on the road, 45 weeks a year for 20 years. They check in, they do their laundry, they hit the road again, and they go, hey, I saw the kids Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, I like seeing the kids, but I do understand that as well, that lifestyle, but it's just different. But when you're like really, like I drive my kids to and from school every day. They make their meals, make their lunch. I just made dinner. I'm going to put them to bed. I sit and I do their homework. You know, it's like, it's the end of the day. You're like, I totally get it. Like I was laughing because I saw some post and there's this thing in Japan. I think it's called like Johitsu or something. Was that what it was, Jason, or something?
Yeah.
So in our culture, people just go, I'm going out for a pack of smokes, and they don't come back, right? Like that's the running joke. My father used to say, I'm going out for a pack of smokes, Peg. I don't know if I'm coming back. Like it was a running joke. But in Japan, I guess it's a real business, and there are these night moving companies, and you can, if you want, you can hire a company, and you disappear in the middle of the night, and you go. They'll like the cities are so packed that you can then they'll find you a spot, and you kind of seamlessly work your way into this place and kind of disappear away from your life that you have.
Japan has everything.
Which, by the way, is a great premise for a movie. Somebody must be making a movie called Johitsu, where it's like this, whatever. But part of me was like, before I had kids, I was like, what kind of dick would do that? What kind of loser would do that to their fan? And now I'm like, oh, not that I would ever do it, but I understand it.
I understand. I wouldn't do it, but I understand it.
I feel the same way. I would not do it, but I get it. Because there were days it's just so overwhelming of like,
I would do it if facial recognition software wouldn't find me almost immediately and drag my ass back here.
It would take you back, son.
But there were some days where I got in the car and drove away, not to leave, but I just couldn't take it.
Jamie called me one night at 9:30 at night, and I was sitting outside my house in my minivan, crying, eating cheeseburgers alone.
That's true.
Crying and eating cheeseburgers.
And Jamie's like, "Are you okay, buddy?" And I'm like, "I'm not okay at all."
He's like, "I don't know, I'm not okay." And I go, "I get it." Well, he has young twins, boys, who are
how old are your twins?
They have special needs and
they just turned 6 on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's in the thick of it.
And developmentally, they're 3.5.
Yeah.
So they have 6-year-old bodies, but they still as 3-year-olds still want to be picked up and carried around. But like, I can no longer carry to like.
Yeah.
It was like 70 pounds a kid in each arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Dan Wally says, my dad said he would always love me, but sometimes he didn't like me to leave the room. Yeah.
Damn.
Hey, Sarah.
Sarah.
Hey.
Hi, Sarah. I don't know you, but you seem nice.
By the way, Jeff, your smile makes me laugh.
Oh, wait. Can I tell you guys a short story about my dad? Sometimes my dad and I would have dinner, just the two of us. Like maybe my mom took my brother and sister to go some event or something. But my dad, I don't know if anybody experienced this, but my dad and I would have dinner, and the man would not say one single word when we ate together. He would just stare ahead, eat his food. And I'll never forget it, because now, like, there's no silence. I will ask my son, I don't care. You're talking to me. I'm going to ask you questions.
Bro, how frightening of a father. That is, I would be petrified. He's sitting there just like.
I would pass him in the hallway like he was a stranger.
Dude, that's like a river runs through it. That's like Tom Skerritt in A River Runs Through It. Like
not
that's
one
scary.
word. Like, how about just like, hey, how
was your day?
Anything. Like, he didn't say a word. I thought that was normal. I mean, like, not a word.
You go to your friend's house and their parents are talking, like, what the fuck is this?
They're talking to each other. This is weird.
We never ate at a table. Charles, did you guys sit as a family and eat dinner?
No, never. I make sure that we do it now, but when I was a kid, no.
We don't. Right? Terrible. We don't.
What did you do? Like the TV? You had TV dinners or something?
We had little trays, like TV tray dinners.
Yeah,
and we would watch, I remember All in the Family. And I remember watching TV. I watched a lot of TV.
Oh no, yeah. We eat dinner like as a family now, we eat dinner together because I want to say only at Christmas when we went to like a relative's house did we ever eat dinner together as a family. And it was only at Christmas.
Yeah,
not
we
even
did.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So I would go to my friend's house, and like every night we would eat dinner at the table, and I would get a phone call like, "Hey, Charles, you want to come over for dinner?" Because they knew what it was like in my house. They were like, "Yo, come over for dinner. Sit down with the family." So yeah, I had that. Like, we never ate dinner together ever. Never, like I said, Christmas. And the only reason why was just because the only reason why we ate during Christmas was because we were around other people. So they were like, "Oh, well, we gotta kind of pull it together now."
Yeah.
Like, we gotta let them think that we're okay.
You got to give appearances. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny, dude.
Oh, it was brutal, man.
Oh my God.
That's so funny.
That's why I don't feel too bad about like pads and stuff, because the pads now are like the TV was then. It was like, I'm sure people then were going, the kids are going crazy watching TV all the time.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that was our pad then. It was
I was
TV.
thinking about like, I wrote a bit about like what it was like in like the 1850s with the father's like, is he going to read that book during the meal? Like there was a kid who was like reading Moby Dick during dinner. And the father's really like, funny. Put that book down. We're having dinner. He's like, Dad, I'm reading a book. You know, I was like how far back does it go where the kids, I don't want to eat dinner with you. I just want to be somewhere else. And so go back. Yeah.
I'd like to share my art one day.
He's listening to the radio.
Brandon is a fan of ours. He's here all the time. He's in his 30s and he is autistic and he's going to animation school.
Wow!
He's a very cool guy.
This is
we are doing voices. As soon as he finishes his cartoon, I am doing a voice in it for sure. I've pleaded with him to be one of his voices. So yeah. We have Carlos Alazraqui on the show a lot, who's a good friend of mine, and he does a ton of voices. And so what kind of job do you do, Jamie?
Jamie, how dare you?
Code? What, did I say something about a job that I do? Oh, I don't do a job. My job is I'm a stay-at-home dad. That's pretty much all I do.
I'm actually going to school right now.
Are you?
Really?
Yeah, I'm back in. I graduated Ithaca College, but I'm going to school right now to get my master's in family and marriage therapy.
Oh wow,
that's really.
Cool.
I'm
not quitting acting and comedy. I just have a passion for it. So,
dude, you would be amazing at that. You really would. I mean, when I did that podcast with you, it was liberating in a way. You have such a calm presence and so inquisitive that it was great. I mean, I remember just having this crazy conversation and then it was like it was over. So you kind of have, and I think you have to have that demeanor in a way to, interact with people like that.
Yeah, you got to be able to you got to be able to shut people down. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I had such a good time, man. I love doing that podcast. The hard part is getting people to come on because we're all so busy. But I might like.
That's why you should do StreamYard, because it's easier to get people to go from the comfort of their own home than to drive somewhere to do it.
I was just telling him that before the show, Cole, that we are very
Ithaca is about an hour away. Oh yeah, man. Ithaca is a wild.
Charles, if you head back that way, Jason runs the room back there.
He was telling me, man. Listen, I was telling him a story before we got on. Ithaca won't have me back to perform. Can you believe? I'm like, I
believe it.
How could you not? Like, are you serious? Like, you guys have all kinds of other comedians. Like, I had friends that performed there, and like, oh yeah, I went over to Ithaca. I'm like, they let you in? I tried to get some time to go over there. And my wife and I were like, it'd be cool to go back. I'm like, let me see if I could perform. And I contacted some old professors, and they were like, oh, the writing program will bring you in, or you can contact the school's entertainment department or whatever where they bring people in. I said, I'm not going to, bother you guys. I'll contact the entertainment department. And I hit them up and I'm like, hey, I'd like to come perform. Nothing. Hit them up again. Like, hey, I want to perform. They just outright said no. And then the writing department tried to bring me in to perform. And again, they said no. And I was like, damn, dude, like, What do I have
Right.
to do? Ithaca?
Even with the writing department pulling for you.
That's
Even
funny.
with the writing department pulling for me, man. But I was like, you know what? It's cool. Don't trip. Like when you see my face on television, and then you're like, and what's crazy, I get constantly, I get calls from them to donate money. So the last call I got, they're like, hey, would you like to make a contribution to Ithaca College? I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you all the earnings I get from me performing there. And
Yeah.
like, what? I'm like, yeah, tell the school, bring me on. I'll give you all the earnings. Nothing.
Dude,
Wow.
so I went to BU, and yeah, I was the same. I did a podcast with them, and I did a show there, but it was like right when My Boys was out or something. But other than that, they still hit me up like every day or two to donate money. And I don't understand the premise of donating money to your college. It was like, it's a transaction. I got a degree.
I paid for it.
Yes, it was paid for. It's like if the grocery store said, "Hey, you remember when you were here a couple weeks ago and you got all those groceries? Do you remember that?" And we bonded, we chatted for a bit by the frozen food section. You remember that day? I was thinking maybe if you could just donate to Gelson's.
And we'll name this aisle after
Yeah.
you.
I don't understand the premise of it. I don't understand the whole premise of me donating back to my alma mater.
Yeah, it's a really
I don't-
weird thing.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
And they hit us up.
They hit me up all the time, by the way.
All the time.
By the
My
way,
wife
this
and I-
podcast might someday a recruiter is going to look at this podcast and go, his daughter's definitely not getting in to be.
Yeah. Forget it.
But
Yeah.
they hit my wife and I up all the time. I'm like, man, fuck
Oh,
y'all. I'm not.
Was she Ithaca as well? Did you guys meet in college?
That's where we met.
Oh, funny.
So crazy. Did she want to come to California, or were you like, we're going to California, baby?
Well, no.
How'd that work?
We started dating, and then I was like, look, I'm interning out in LA because Ithaca has an LA program. So I was like, I'm interning out in LA, and I plan on staying there. Will you move out there? And she still had, because we graduated 2005. You know, I took an extra year, super senior year. But
I took one too.
Her program, she had another year and she got her master's because she's a physical therapist. But then they realized that, like, hey, like, we actually gave you guys way too much school. So essentially you're like a few classes away from getting your doctorate. So you could do 10 weeks after you get your master's and get a doctorate. And they didn't like charge them a whole bunch extra or whatever. And they were the first class to be they were the only class to get that opportunity, or the last class, excuse me, to get that opportunity. Everybody that came after them had to pay an extra 2 years or whatever to get their doctorate. But she got her fucking doctorate after her master's, 10 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
So then when she was done, we packed our shit up and we drove across country. And
Wow.
it was the worst trip I ever had in my life.
Why?
Oh, dog. Because it was right after Thanksgiving. Like, we went to Pittsburgh with her family to celebrate Thanksgiving and we'd say our goodbyes or whatever. We drove back up to her 5th years in Rochester. Like, Ithaca has a spot at U of R or whatever. So we got our stuff from Rochester, packed it all up in the U-Haul, and headed out. And we drove as far south as we could because we were like, look, we don't want to drive through a whole bunch of snow. So we drove as far south as we could. We got to St. Louis really quick in a day. We got there really fast. And we were like, oh, man, we can chill and relax in a hotel and then wake up and, head back. We could be done in 3 days. This is crazy. The craziest snowstorm hit the northern tip of the U.S. to the southern tip. And like when we were driving through Texas, we drove through Oklahoma and Texas, and we were stuck in snow for days.
The whole oh my God.
Days. And we get to this, we're in Oklahoma, and we get to this town, and there's a toll booth, and we didn't have Easy Pass, so it was like Easy Pass on the left, and then the pay toll on the right. So we're obviously in the pay toll, and we're in the U-Haul. We're towing my wife's car, and we get right to the where we're supposed to pay, and we're waiting for it like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Finally, it's our turn. They shut it down. They're like, "Oh no, it's like we're not taking any more tolls. Everyone can just go." And I'm like, bro, I scrounged up every fucking penny in this whole, because we didn't have cash with us. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, like there's too much snow or whatever. We were stuck in the snow for so long at that one point, our tires sunk in. So we had to dig ourselves out. And they were like, yeah, we don't have any shovels because we don't get snow here. Like this is,
oh my God.
This part of Oklahoma doesn't get because Oklahoma gets a lot of crazy weather, but they're like, this part of Oklahoma, we haven't seen snow in like 9 years.
They're not used to it.
Are you fucking kidding me? So I dug us out, and like my wife is crying. She's my girlfriend at the time. She's crying her eyes out. I'm like, look, stay in the U-Haul. I'm gonna dig us out. Don't worry. And she's like, you're gonna dig. I'm like, I'll dig us out. Bro, my hands are all fucking bleeding because I dug us out of the snow and it was ice at this point. So I dug us out, and then I go in her car, I put her floor mats underneath the tires. I'm like, look, just drive. I'm going to grab the mats and I'm running up and catch up to you. But prior to this, when we first got stuck, a cop drove by. He's like, do you guys need help? I'm like, yeah, man, we need help. Like, I'm stuck. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, I'm stuck in the snow. He's like, oh, okay. He drives away. I'm thinking like, all right, he's going to get some homies, a plow, something. Motherfucker doesn't come back at all. As my wife, I finished digging us out, my hands are bleeding. I grab her car mats. Here comes that same cop. He's like, "Oh, you got out." I was like, "Man, fuck you, fuck off, dude. Are you serious?" And I'm running after her with the floor mats. I'm like, "Fuck you! Like, how do you not help me?" It was the worst.
God.
So we leave that spot and we're like, "Look, we can't drive much further. Let's just pull off, see if we can find a motel." Now, mind you, this is 04, so we didn't have, maps and shit on our cell phones. So I'm like, look, let's pull off here. I see a sign for a motel. We go to the motel. The lady at the motel was so excited to see us because she's like, oh my God, like we don't get people that come here. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like
you have bloody hands at the time.
Yeah.
I'm fucked up.
Hey, I need a room really quick. I don't know if this is cool.
And she's like, all right, we'll get, like, she's like, it's this much a night, but I'm going to give you guys the Marilyn Monroe suite.
Oh.
Because we're so excited to have you here. And I was like, okay.
That's awesome.
So we get it. And it's the crazy, they had a cutout of Marilyn Monroe, a cardboard cutout of Marilyn Monroe in the room with pink plush carpet that was like this tall and a pink throw over the bed. A pink toilet. It was just like the Marilyn Monroe suite. So my wife and I are looking at each other like, this is out of control. And I'm like, all right, well, whatever. We got to stay here. There's roaches, dead roaches in the carpet. I'm like, fuck me, man.
Oh my God.
Mind you, the snow at this point is up to my waist. It's like they got a ton of snow. So I'm like, look, you stay here. I'm going to go get us some food at that rest stop. It's like quarter mile down the road or whatever. So I put some like plastic bags on my shoes and I trudge through the snow and I get to this stop and I walk in. There's a bunch of truckers inside this gas station. The convenience store that's attached to the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
I walk in there and like in those movies when the record stops and it's like, and everyone looks like,
yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Because they hadn't seen a black person in years. So I walked in there and I'm just like, all right, let me go get some food. And it was like, and they look at me and I'm like, oh, fuck. I was like, I'm cooked. I need to get some shit and get the fuck out of here as fast as I can. So I run over and the lady behind the counter was blown away. She saw my New York Yankee hat. She's like, are you from New York? And I'm like, yeah. She's got this big I Love New York chain on and like her name plate. She wants to, like, she, fancies herself a city girl. So
Dude,
she's like,
she saw you as
she
saw you as a ticket to New York.
Bro, she was so excited to see me.
Getting right.
And she's just trying her best to flirt with me. So I'm like, hey, I need to grab this stuff and like get the fuck out of here. And this one trucker comes up to me. He's like, hey, does your people like tuna fish? And he has this giant can of tuna fish. I was like, does my people like tuna fish? I'm like, man, can I pay for my shit and get the fuck out of here? What is happening right now? And
Oklahoma's happening. That's what's happening. It's Oklahoma.
I am so sorry.
She tried her best to get me. She's like leaning over the counter so I could look at her titties. I'm like, look, I'm like, those are nice titties. My girl's back in the motel. I gotta go. And she's like, oh, I'll give you this bag of chips for free. One of the truckers sees that she's flirting with me. He gets mad. And I'm like, look, y'all have it out with yourselves. I gotta go. So I like grab all my shit. And she's like, oh, wait, don't you want this and this? And I'm like, no. You can. I was like, I appreciate it. Thank you. I gotta run. Bro, they fucking ushered me. Like they walked with me to make sure I was leaving. It was crazy. And I was like, I'm not fucking coming back to this part of Oklahoma ever. This is crazy. And oh man. And then so we drove down. As we leave Oklahoma, I'm calling the place that we had paid to rent the apartment or whatever. And the lady's like, oh, these aren't apartments anymore. Like we're making them into condos right now. And I was like, what? Like we paid a down payment. They're like, oh yeah, we'll refund that back to your credit card. Like it's fine, but we're no longer renting these places. So we were driving with no place to stay.
Oh man.
It was not. And then my sister-in-law, thank God, lived in San Diego, and we called and she was like, just come here and stay for a couple nights or whatever till you figure something out. So we did, and then we got like a extended stay in like Pasadena or something. Drove there and stayed there until we can get up like situated. Found a place in Hollywood that was subletting for like 3 or 4 months. We stayed there. Found a place in Burbank, and then we stayed there for like 8 or 9 years. It was crazy. It was
I enjoy. You know what I really liked was the jump from Oklahoma to San Diego. By the way, because that's like a 27-hour drive alone.
Yeah,
just come to San Diego. That's like 32 hours in a car.
Well, we went from Oklahoma to Texas, and Texas.
By the way, I mean, it took a turn to like The Vanishing or a Kurt Russell dead end turn. It turned into a horror film. But when you first checked into the Marilyn Monroe suite, I was like,
the story didn't go where I thought it was going to go.
At first, I was like, I thought it was going to be a porn film called Snowplowed. Like it felt like it felt like
it was
the
craziest time.
There's a hotel. How about the Marilyn Monroe? Boom,
yeah, it's gonna happen, man.
And then and all of a sudden the roaches appeared in the carpet, and I was like,
oh man,
this is going to David Lynchian film.
I thought it was the
worst.
I thought that's what the Marilyn Monroe was.
Snowplowed 2.
Snowplowed 2.
Not even. You skip right to 2.
Just go to 2.
The streets have been salted.
But yeah, they had nothing out there to help us. They were like, we have no shovels in here. We have some salt. Will salt help? I'm like, yeah, I want to eat the snow. Dude. I don't get the fuck out of here. Like, no.
Just go to Netflix and Google murder shows in Oklahoma, and there's like a jillion. Oklahoma. I know people from Oklahoma. There's a reason it's Oklahoma. It's not Texas. It's not Texas. No. It's Oklahoma.
I don't think I've ever been to Oklahoma.
I got a homie from Oklahoma, good dude, man. But I'm like, man, you're
by the way, for all you people out there, Charles is going to be at the Oklahoma Chuckle Hut.
I've never performed in Oklahoma.
Oh, you won't. Trust me.
Yeah.
No, not after they hear that story. They're like, man, fuck that dude.
You
guys trying to come in here and take our women.
They don't.
Oh man.
Apparently they were concerned you were going to take their tuna.
Yeah. He was like, "Do you people like tuna?" But to his credit, he was trying to give me the tuna fish.
Oh, I'm giving. Okay.
I was like, "I'm good. Like, I don't need the tuna fish." But he was like, "Do your people eat tuna?" And I'm like,
I heard you people like tuna fish.
I'm like, "Yeah, we eat tuna, man. Like, we eat tuna."
Which is, by the way, I mean, we all know other stereotypes that have been there's definitely food stereotypes. Tuna fish, not one of them.
I've never,
Nobody.
I was like, I don't.
I would argue I'm the guy who's people like tuna fish with mayonnaise. They go like, oh, Kaler, that's a very white cracker guy who likes tuna.
Maybe we Jewish people might have some tuna, like maybe tuna salad. But that's
Tuna
about
with
it.
mayonnaise
The fact, Jeff, that your Jewish dad owned a cowboy gear store in
Western wear
Texas.
store.
Honestly, how that's not a show, I don't know.
So
Where
Jeff,
people walk in there and go, "Hey, what you got some chaps in here?" And he's like, "Yes, I know."
We got we got chaps.
Jeff, you had a Jewish dad that would sit at the table and not talk. That's fucking frightening.
No,
and then he beat it with a giant ass buckle.
No.
With a
listen, Charles, don't you realize anytime you meet anyone who's in comedy, like when you meet someone in comedy and then you find out there's a weird fucked up background to their life, you go, yeah, they're in comedy. Why did you think they got into comedy in the first place? Yeah, some damage happened back in the day.
I get people to sit around a table and now we talk. Yeah.
All right, listen, we don't have much time left, but tomorrow's Valentine's Day. Does anyone have some Valentine's Day stories they want to share?
I don't have any stories, but you could come check me out at the Comedy Store tomorrow night, 8:00 in the Belly Room. I have a show there. It's my show, so come out, have a good time. It's me and Pink Fox and Danny Jawless and who else is on? Doug Benson. Good time.
Oh, dude, Benson's a killer. That sounds like such a great show, and you can't go wrong at the Comedy Store anyway. But the Belly Room, for sure,
it's so much fun.
Yeah, and for Valentine's Day, you got to get out, right?
Yeah, you can't beat that, man. It's
a
good deal.
I had a girlfriend one time, and I got her. I'm terrible with presents. Like even my wife now, she's like, I can't tell, but I got flowers and I got some candy. It's hidden somewhere, but it's gonna come out. But she doesn't think she's getting anything, and I typically get zero. But I had a girlfriend one time, and she kept asking. She wanted to work out, and she kept talking about how much she wanted to work out. So for Valentine's Day, I got her like this elaborate weight set and this whole workout thing. And all she did, and I thought she would be so excited, and all she did was like, "Who did you think I was fat?" And so I learned a valuable.
You walked right into that.
About listen. There are stereotypes about, and I always didn't want to do that, to give in and just go, all right, at the end of the day, just get flowers. It really is like everything's going to be okay.
See, I can't because my wife's a florist. So it doesn't really work for me.
But here's also the funny thing. Like there's like 7 guys that you go to the flower store. It's like 7 guys standing there. Everybody fucked up and it was too late. And they're trying to get their flowers before they close the store. It's like,
and all that's left in the middle of the afternoon is the rose that looks like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree.
Well, it's also roses on February 15th are like $1 a flower, and on February 14th they're like $42 a flower. Yeah.
Well, fortunately, my wife and I we don't participate in Valentine's Day.
Oh, thank God, she's a keeper.
Oh my God, that's
Dude, no wonder you locked that up at college.
No, I had to, man. She was like, "Yeah, I don't." Like I was like, look, I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. She's like, neither do I. I'm like, let's fucking go.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't understand the whole flower premise of like, hey, here's some beautiful things. I'm going to give it to you and spend a lot of money, and I'm going to let you watch them slowly die over the next 6 or 7 days.
I mean,
I tell a joke about
to me.
I tell a joke about that with my wife because she's, she loves flowers or whatever, but I don't get her flowers that often. Because every time she's got a black thumb. She's terrible with with flowers and shit. And I tell a joke because it's true story. She's like, "Oh, I found this thing where you can she's very, very earth conscious. So I found something for her that I'm like, look, you can be turned into a tree when you die." So she was like, "Oh, they have a thing on the website that we can both be turned into trees together." And she's like, "And when you die, we'll bury you in the backyard or whatever." I'm like, no. That's not happening. You killed every flower I ever given you. I'm like, you ain't killing me twice. Fuck that. Like, I'm dead. Like, let it go.
That's funny.
Bury me someplace else or whatever.
Luke Perry did a mushroom suit, I think, right? He did the mushroom suit.
Did he?
The compost mushroom suit. I like the tree thing. They put you when you get into the roots. I think is a cool.
Yeah, just compost.
I like the idea, but I'd be worried I'd give the other vegetation type 2 diabetes. So I don't.
The tree would definitely have
Okay.
a little hang to it, but
Whatever
Yeah.
fruit that comes from your tree is going to be delicious.
yo, it's it's like pure sugar. It's a
I'm eating
sugar
my
fruit.
husband.
I used to do a joke about the same thing about like flower, like the premise of flowers bothers me because it's like we take this beautiful thing, we cut the flower part off, we put it in a bowl and we watch it die for like 5 days. And I was like, well, cats are beautiful. What if I just cut off a bunch of cat heads and put those in a bowl and was like, hey, happy Valentine's Day? And just I wouldn't keep it like more than 2 or 3 days, but they're beautiful, aren't they? That's beautiful. Like,
And watch the cats die slowly. Like, just puncture their necks.
I have this thing with my wife about like about spending money on things that serve no purpose. I don't know why. I have this thing about like I'd rather not work and save the money and not spend it on things that are useless. I don't know. I have this thing about it. And she,
I get you, man. I don't
girls like jewelry. They want jewelry. They like jewelry. And I'm like, what purpose does jewelry serve? It doesn't serve any purpose to me.
Yeah.
Sneakers. Just buy me sneakers. I'm good.
How many pairs of sneakers you got?
Do you want the honest answer or do you want the conservative answer?
Well, I want the honest.
answer.
I'm probably about 100.
Oh my God! Wow.
And do you go through them? Do you change them and wear them?
I wear them all. I wear them all.
Yeah.
There's like 10 of them that are for running that I've saved over the years because I really like these particular running shoes. So I bought a couple of them so that when I run, like I will cycle through them so that they last longer. Yeah. But then the rest of them, like I have Timbs and I have Wallabies and like 80 pairs of sneakers.
I have pair.
Nothing like that I care about whatsoever. There's nothing I have that I wouldn't just I don't know. I have this weird thing where I just don't need anything. It's a great superpower, man. I don't collect anything. I have friends who collect watches. I have a friend who has a ton of suits. I don't know. Not my jam.
Yes, I don't know, man. Sneakers is my thing. I know where it came from. It's because like we weren't allowed to have that shit when I was a kid. So then when I finally had an opportunity to get my own, I'm like, I'm not stopping. I have sneakers, actually I got rid of some just recently, but I had sneakers that I had since I was in high school.
Oh, really?
That's so funny, dude.
I keep very good care of my shoes.
Can you still get in them? Can you still fit in them?
Oh yeah, same size.
Oh. Wow.
Jeff, did you think his foot just kept growing as he got older?
Well, I had a growth spurt in high school. I mean, I have a size 13, but I went from like 5'10" to 6'1", and
but I think once your foot's set, it's pretty set.
I had a half a size growth, but I'm still able to fit in the smaller ones. Like it's not that big of a deal.
I'm a size 12, and I've been I was probably a 12 in like sophomore. I remember sophomore year of high school, tripping up every stair I walked on.
Oh.
I was like, and then I kind of grew into my feet. But yeah, it's funny too because my daughter, my 11-year-old, has big feet, and I keep thinking she's gonna.
Somebody just said something about sneakers. Wait, hold up. Elmira, you have to check out Poet for sneakers. Elmira, New York. I've been to Elmira. I did some. I think I had a fight out in Elmira because I used to box. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I boxed for a long time.
Did you really?
Yeah, I boxed for a long time. I won Golden Gloves and everything.
Shut.
Holy shit!
I love that we're talking about this at 8:59. Why, dude? Where in New York? Golden Gloves?
Yeah.
What was your weight class?
150. It was 152.
Are you kidding me? That's amazing, dude.
Dead serious. 152 and then 165, but I didn't win at 165. But I won at 152. Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Good times, man. I miss it. Boxing was my passion. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, getting hit in the face, it's so great. I really wish I'd
what's crazy about it is once you stop, you start to miss that sensation. You're like, I need to, like, every now and then I'll go back and I'll lace them up and I'm like, let's spar. And they're like, you're not really sparring, you're just kind of getting punched. I'm I'm like, yeah, I don't got the same athleticism as I did back in the day.
Do you have a whole act about it? Do you do jokes about it?
You know what? I did for a while. I kind of retired those jokes, but yeah, I did a lot of jokes like because people were always surprised when they found out I was a boxer. They're like, teach me how to box.
I think not a lot of comics. Not a lot of comics are boxers for sure.
There's a couple of us.
Honestly, he's also the first person who hung in
not a lot of
funny.
There's not a lot of funny comics who are boxers.
But yeah,
not a lot
of
of
fun.
fun.
It's one or the other.
And I
trained get all your stuff. You need to put an album together at some point nowadays. I mean, nowadays too, it's just you put it up on your YouTube page and record and do a show like that and have it go. Because I've seen your stuff. You have so many great stories about it. So
yeah, I trained down at the Wild Card in Hollywood with Freddie Roach and Manny Pacquiao. It was a good time, man. I miss
crazy.
Was that on Vine, like Vine and something like Vine in Santa Monica?
Vine in Santa Monica, yeah.
Yes, oh my God. I know exactly.
Vine in Santa Monica. That's my spot, man. I lived at the Wild Card for years, and then
that's hilarious.
Then when I tore my labrum, it was over.
Oh.
Yeah, the old labrum tear. It happens, man.
All right. You guys go ahead. I've got
to roll. We got to get him out of here. All right, listen. Follow him. Follow Charles at I am Charles Greaves on Instagram. The Bad Good Parent podcast.
I just had Jamie on, so check it out. I just had Jamie on that.
That's right. So we'll share my podcast and maybe we'll do a little cross promotion. Jamie Kaler, Jason Gowan, Jeffy Lou, everyone who's here, go. Jeff is going to go live stream in Twitch right now and play games. And Charles, you got to come back and do the game.
It's a good time, man.
All right, guys, that's it. We'll see you guys next time here in the Parents Lounge. Love you.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.